It's the mighty rise of the Codependents.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Come here for a minute. I want to talk to you.
What's the mama say?
Mama says you're brain dead, bang your head against the wall.
Bang, 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 bang.
Peace of mind, brain needs an overhaul. Bonehead, brain dead,
We're all the same,
you can't think straight.
and your heart is in pain.
Turn around, hit the ground.
Time to lay your burden down.
The views expressed on this broadcast of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show are those of the co-host and guest and do not necessarily reflect those of our affiliates. The topics and opinions on today's show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice. Take 12 Radio is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here's your host,
The man, the myth, the legend.
the Monty Man.
I'm telling you the truth, man. I
Ain't gonna lie to you. I wouldn't lie to you, baby.
good guys, bad boys.
We're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground. Time to lay your burden down. Welcome to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. Denver's here.
Good morning.
My wife Marcia's here.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Marv's here.
Yes, I am.
Yes, he is. And our very special guest, Heather G. She is here.
Hello,
today.
everyone.
Hello, Heather. Hello, Heather.
Hello.
Hello. Heather's never done this before.
No.
Yeah. So this is a new experience for you.
Brandis new.
Yes, indeed. So we're going to be talking about codependency today. Hooray! In fact, the title of this show is The Confessions of a Codependent. And we are all in that category. Not every codependent is alcoholic or addict or whatever you want to call them, but every alcoholic and addict is pretty codependent in one way or another. And we're going to be talking about codependency. So just to start out with, the definition, adjust my mic here a little bit. The definition of codependency, according to Wikipedia, is a type of dysfunctional helping relationship where one person supports or enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. Pretty good. That makes it pretty. Now it goes a lot deeper than that, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So one more time, codependency is a type of dysfunctional helping relationship where one person supports or enables, and enables means that you help a person, you make them able to continue in an inappropriate behavior. Another's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. By the way, not in all cases, but in many, among the core characteristics of codependency, the most common theme is an excessive reliance on other people for approval and a sense of identity. That can happen to a lot of folks, especially people that are addicts or alcoholics in their codependency, because a lot of what is driving an addict or an alcoholic many times is the need for approval and a sense of identity. So that's real prevalent in the addict and alcoholic. So we're going to be talking about codependency today. Before we get into that, though, just check this out. Oh, by the way, and we just want to say, Tony, hi. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Yeah, Tony is suffering from an eye illness, and it's really uncomfortable, and she's rather contagious right at the moment, so it's a good thing she's home. But Tony, we love you, and take care of yourself. It's important that you do that.
Miss you.
And we miss you. We do. So check this out. For 17 years, Shaflant Lani Queen suffered periodic episodes of violent retching and abnormal pain that would knock her off her feet for days, sometimes leaving her withering on the floor in pain. She says, I screamed out for death, says Queen, 48, who lives in San Diego. I've cried out for my mom, who's been dead for 20 years, mentally not realizing she can't come to me. Queen lost a modeling job after being mistaken for an alcoholic. She racked up tens of thousands of dollars in medical bills, and her nausea interrupted her sex life. Toward the end of her illness, the 5'9" woman weighed just 109 pounds. Throughout the nearly 2 decades of pain, vomiting, and mental fog, Queen visited the hospital about 3 times a year, but doctors never got to the bottom of what was ailing her. By 2016, she thought she was dying, and she must have some sort of cancer or something they can't detect, Queen recalls. But she didn't have cancer. She had an obscure syndrome called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, CHS, a condition only recently acknowledged by the medical community. It affects marijuana users who smoke multiple times a day for months, years, or even decades. There's no hard data on the prevalence of the illness, but in California and Colorado, which have loosened marijuana laws in recent years, some emergency physicians say they're seeing it more often. Dr. Amy Mullen, an emergency room physician at UC Davis Medical Center in Sacramento, says she has seen a rise in the number of cases since California voters legalized recreational marijuana use last November. She expects to see another increase after commercial sales are permitted starting this month. The article goes on to state that doctors say it's difficult to treat the condition. There is no cure other than to quit using marijuana, and many patients are skeptical that cannabis is making them sick. Well, of course they are. So they keep using it, and their vomiting episodes continue. Doctors can do little to relieve the symptoms, and traditional anti-nausea medications often don't work, and there are no pills to prevent the onset of the episode. Patients may need intravenous hydration and hospital stays until the symptoms subside. It's very frustrating for the emergency physician, says Mullen. I really like to make people feel better, and they won't. The article goes on to talk about this, but these are people that have been using marijuana long term. And so what was even in the area of cancer was meant or thought to help nausea actually is backfiring and causing this terrible, terrible condition called CHS, where the person is violently vomiting. And I mean, you know, so for all of those out there that are, oh, it doesn't hurt you to smoke marijuana. Well, think again. Maybe if you put your right fighting aside and don't think, oh, well, they're just trying to scare you. Heck, half these doctors smoke pot themselves. They're getting paid to research it. That's the only interest they have. So come on. And this comes from a news source at Oregon Public Broadcasting, by the way, and the American Medical Association. So there you go. I just thought that was extremely interesting.
I've seen that article on social media too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not a good deal. It's just not wisdom at all. And so, you know, if that's your thing, just be warned.
Stop right there.
Uh-oh.
It's time for Monty Man's Weekly Wine.
That's right. So
Here's a little wisdom.
Yeah. So there you go. Tony loves the baby. So Heather, you got something to whine about?
I do.
All right, bring it on.
Okay, so I recently moved about a month ago from Albany to Brownsville.
Right.
And
you're gonna have to come right up on that microphone.
Sorry, is that
there
better?
Go. Yeah.
So I moved about a month ago, and I had called ahead of time to CenturyLink, who is my internet provider, that I needed it switched, and I gave them the day, and it was all set up.
Right.
And they had said, I think the first time they said it was going to be a Saturday, that they would just push a button and it would be on. Well, okay, great. So I get all moved in and I'm all excited and get my TV set up. Because I don't have cable. I just have Netflix and I stream.
Yeah, like Hulu stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
Amazon Prime. And so it wasn't working. And so I thought, well, maybe it's user error. Maybe I've done something wrong.
Right.
So I call and they said, oh, we don't know what's going on. We'll get a technician out, early next week. So I took a half a day off of work.
Yeah.
And for the next week for them to come out. And I wait the entire time until it's like maybe a half hour before. And I call and say, well, you were supposed to be here. Are you guys coming? And they said, oh, well, we have the order's been canceled. Okay. Well, I didn't cancel it. So that happened. And so they set up another appointment. I think I had to take some more time off of work. And several days later, they don't show up again. Again. So I call again. And this time they have some other excuse. So, of course, I freak out, talk to a manager. The manager gets on the line, and it's all the same. Oh, we're sorry. It must be a mess up in the system. Our system's messed up. And I said, well, why would you guys continue to have a system that you know is flawed? I mean, what's going on here?
Our system's messed up.
Right. It's been messed up. We're sorry, ma'am. Blah, blah. And so, okay.
Wow.
So ends up that after all said and done, after waiting almost 2 weeks for them to show up and do it, it ends up it was only some button they had to push. I guess they had to reset something on the other side, and then it worked.
And the other people told you they couldn't come out on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that part.
Yeah.
They had set up one of the appointments for another Saturday, and come to find out they don't even work Saturdays. So that was just a big another screw up.
Communication.
Yeah.
Wrong button again.
Marv, do you have cable where you live?
No, I don't.
Did you when you had the ranch?
I had Dish.
You had Dish?
Yeah.
Were you okay with them? Were they okay?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been okay with them too. But the cables come, and CenturyLink's the worst.
They're awful.
That's what I've heard.
They are the worst. Is that the only company that reaches where you're at?
Well, they're the cheapest, and I guess now I know
Now
why.
you know why.
Yeah.
Bad buttons.
Bad buttons. Bad system.
Yeah, because we have a bad system. Oh, and by the way, we don't work on Saturday, even though we told you we do.
Exactly. We don't know why we told you that, ma'am. We're sorry.
Oh, my God. Well, yeah, and that's a legitimate whine.
Yeah.
It definitely is. So I have one, and I understand that in the food service industry, it can be very hectic. And if you've ever waited tables, or if you've even bus tables, and you're busy, it can be grueling. And if you're in middle management in food service, it's even worse because you have these high demands from the owner, and then you have people that work under you that you have high turnover and that kind of thing, and it can be rough. So I understand. But darn it, when I order my bread with my meal and you don't bring me butter, and I ask you for butter, and you say, I'll have that right to you, sir, and 20 minutes goes by, I'm not happy. I'm just not, I don't get that. Or when I say, can I get some extra dressing? Yes, we'll have that right out. And it doesn't come, and I can't eat my salad because you don't bring me my, so I am not happy with people not bringing my butter.
All right.
Yeah, there you
Make
go.
sure you bring his butter.
That was very gentle. You didn't mention any names.
That wasn't gentle.
Yeah.
That was gentle. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
that
where
was.
was the restaurant we ate at the other night?
Let's have a name.
Well, no, the manicotti was some of the best I've ever had. What was that place called? In Corvallis?
Pastinis?
Pastinis in Corvallis. Best manicotti I've ever had.
Yeah.
It was marvelous, but they couldn't get it through their head to bring me my butter.
Yeah, shame.
And he sits there and he just
Stews.
stews. And
What?
I'm like, well, you can go ahead and eat.
I can't eat my bread without my
no,
butter.
I can't. He
And-
just sits there.
He's already getting ready to whine.
And I'm
he
getting,
wasn't stewing.
that's my wine, is watching him whine.
And there's this thing with these Italian restaurants now where they're insulted if you ask for butter because the bread comes with balsamic vinegar and oil. You're not supposed to use butter, I guess. I guess in Italy they don't use. I don't know.
Where I come from, you do.
I know. And my poor wife is like, oh, no.
Yes, it's a torch I bear.
And the other wine, we're going to wine for Tony.
Okay.
Yay,
Okay.
Tony.
What's her wine?
Well, Tony has pink eye, and that's considered contagious and infectious disease or illness. And it is against the law for a food service industry to require you to work with an infectious, contagious illness.
I would hope
They
so.
can't do that. I looked it up under Oregon state laws. They can't do that. And her employer was going to make her work.
Oh my.
And I said, you need to call your boss. I mean, the boss, the owner or the general manager. Of course, she did, and they said, no way, you're not coming to work.
Right.
But there are food industries that make you work when you're sick. And so for Tony, good for you for calling your boss. And you said, well, I don't want to get fired. It's, well, I'll tell you what, if they fire you for not bringing contagious illness to work, you're going to be the richest employee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tony, don't you worry, kid.
And get better.
And get better. Absolutely. All right. So that wine was not too radical today.
Give her the baby.
Huh?
Can you do that from there?
Give
her
her
the
the
baby. She likes the baby.
She likes the baby?
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we got some Take 12 trivia, and then we'll get into our topic. Don't go away. Listen to this.
Around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
Hey, check this out. Coming Wednesday, February 7th, Take 12 Recovery Radio will debut our brand new show, The Victory Report. Participants in the Ministry of Teen Challenge of Arizona will be sharing their experience, strength, and hope as it relates to overcoming life-controlling issues by the power of God. Don't miss these exciting testimonies of redemption, reconciliation, and restoration from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body to a place of wholeness and healing. So mark your calendars for Wednesday, February 7th. Available to listen to and download beginning at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Where? At Take12Radio.com. That's Take12Radio.com for the all-new Victory Report. Sponsored by Take 12 Recovery Radio and available on iTunes with apps for Android and iOS at Take12RecoveryRadio.podomatic.com.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-anon meetings, or to Al-ateen. I wanted to see if I could have a better relationship with my dad. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-anon or Al-ateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-AL-ANON or go to alanon.org.
All right, we are back. We are back.
It's two bangs.
I think Cecil has Take 12 trivia for us.
Well, zippity-doo-dah and zippity-yay. It's time for that wonderful trivia game that we play. It's a favorite with Denver. It's a favorite with the Monty Man. And Tony, she just cracks up all night long. That's what she does, yes. And Marv loves it. And I'm really sure that Heather is going to love some of the Take 12 trivia. Take it away, Monty Man.
Okay, Cecil, thank you. You recognize that background music, Denver?
I hope it's not the girl on...
It is.
Is it?
The one that you posted on Facebook?
Oh, my goodness. If you're on social media, please come check out one of our sites. I posted this gal in this Egyptian-looking outfit that plays a juice harp and does some wild critter sounds. Horses and birds, I believe, the screaming
It's just
hawk.
Weird.
Yeah,
it's wild.
I posted it would be a long ride to Arizona with her. Because, she's got it going on for sure, though.
All right, we have more useless trivia this week, just for Heather. So Heather, you're our guest, so you get to choose first. These are true and false for the most part.
Okay.
Number 1, there are more chickens in the world than people. True or false?
True.
What do you say, Marcia? True or false? And if you get it wrong, remember you get the...
No.
You say no, you say it's false?
Yeah.
What do you think, Denver? True or false? More chickens?
I don't know where you got it, but I'm going with no.
No? Marv, what do you think?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Well, you guys are wrong. Heather's right.
Woo, way to go, Heather.
Yeah, there are more chickens in the world than people.
Ah, you got a bell.
Thanks.
How many vocal sounds do cats have? Here are your choices. 10, 30, 50, or over 100. What do you think, Heather? How many vocal sounds do cats have?
I would say
10, 30, 50, or over 100?
50.
She has cats.
I know. How about I get this
Marv,
right?
what do you think?
10.
10? Marcia?
My first inclination was 10.
What do you think, Denver?
You said 50?
She's
You
right
got
last
cats?
time.
I got 2,
I'm
but
going,
I don't know.
I'm going with 100.
Denver's right. Over 100 sounds. Yeah, the rest of you are.
I've heard him make a few of them, that's for sure.
Around how many vocal sounds do dogs have? 25, 10, or 35?
35.
35, Marcia?
35.
Denver?
35.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Well, you're all wrong. They have only 10.
Oh, jeez.
Really?
And by the
You
way,
set us up with that
And
one.
by the way,
Yeah.
unless they're hyenas, which I don't think they're in the dog family, but dogs can't laugh.
They can't.
They can smile.
Oh.
I think I've heard more than 10 sounds come out of them.
Yeah, it's
Are you counting both ends?
I was going to say, is it after they eat?
Right.
yeah. We know that Nala has more than 10. That's for sure. Most elephants weigh less than the tongue of a blue whale.
The tongue?
Yeah. Do most elephants weigh less than the tongue of a blue
I'm
whale?
going to say yes. Oh,
I'm going to say yes. I agree.
I agree.
They weigh less.
I
You
say
agree?
yes.
Marv?
I don't understand the question.
Do elephants weigh less than the tongue of a blue whale?
No.
Oh, I'm going to say, oh, yeah. See, I'm changing mine.
You say they don't weigh
They
less?
don't.
What do you think, Denver?
If anyone's ever
The
checked
tongue.
out a cow tongue, it's a pretty large thing. So I would imagine in a whale it's large. I'm going with an elephant weighs less than a
Yeah,
tongue.
that's
Think so,
what I
Heather?
was.
Yep.
Yep, you're right. They weigh
Yay.
less than the tongue of a blue whale.
was thinking,
Yeah. Tongues
Yeah.
are
Be big.
humongous if you actually extract one,
Yeah.
I guess.
Have you ever done that? How do
No.
you know?
No, but I've seen them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
True or false? Peanuts are one of the
Ew.
peanuts are one of the ingredients in dynamite.
Yes.
Yeah, I say yes.
Yeah, what do you think, Marv?
I guess.
I've
I've been wrong.
I've been wrong before. What do you think, Annie?
That seems too weird. No.
Yeah, well, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually are. How'd you know that, Denver?
It's the oil in, yeah, I don't know. I was going to roll with that, and I looked at you and I had to start laughing. It has something to do with the oil, yeah.
There are 293 ways to make
Sure it
change
does.
for $1.
I'm sorry, there's how many?
There are 293 ways to make change for $1. True or false, Heather?
False.
False, Marcia?
False.
Marv?
True.
I'm going to go with true. I like that.
Yeah, you guys are right. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, girls, wrong, girls. Tigers have striped skin, not just striped fur. Marv? True or false?
Yeah, true. It's possible.
Heather?
That's false.
Possible.
I agree. True.
False.
Marcia says false.
I'm going to go with false.
Yeah, well, you two are wrong.
Yay.
Well,
Yeah, Heather and Marv are correct.
so what?
Yeah, they do have striped skin. The animal responsible for the most human deaths is a mosquito. True or false? Denver?
No.
No? Marcia? True? Heather?
True.
Marv?
Come on, Marv.
Do mosquitoes
True.
cause most human?
True.
Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, the mosquito is responsible for more human deaths than any other living
All
creature.
right, all right. What's the second one? What's the second animal, huh?
Oh, wow.
A gnome. All right. there's 4 choices here. Butterflies taste with their antennas, wings, feet, or tongues.
Where do you find these questions?
I know it. These are crazy.
In gnome land.
This is where he's at night with the gnomes out here on the internet.
That's true.
I'm going to the restroom.
Do they Heather? Do they taste with their antennas, wings, feet, or tongues?
Antennas.
Marv?
Antennas.
Marcia?
Tongues. Of course.
Tongues? What do you think?
I didn't know they had. Oh, I guess they do. Let's go with feet.
Denver's right. They actually taste with their feet.
Crazy.
You shoot in the dark and boom, what do you get? Sparklers.
Okay, here's your last one. Hallelujah. Which character is not in the Flintstones chewable vitamins?
All right.
Barney Rubble, Fred Flintstone, Betty Rubble, or Wilma Flintstone? Who is not in the Flintstone chewable vitamins?
I can tell you right now.
Barney, Fred, Betty, or Wilma?
Betty.
Yeah,
Betty?
Betty.
I'd say
Betty's
Betty.
It's Wilma.
Oh, Denver, you're wrong. It is Betty.
Yeah.
Betty is not a vitamin.
Well, why would
Betty
Betty
wasn't
not
popular.
be in there?
She wasn't. She's just the background.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's kind of mean,
Wow.
right?
Yeah. Ow.
Poor Betty.
Jeez.
Well, that sets the tone for the whole program.
Yes, so, man, I'm done. I'm out of here. Ah, there it is.
There it is.
Tune into that, folks.
Yes, indeedy. All right. So, Confessions of a Codependent. Now, we've all experienced codependency to some more extremes than others. Marv?
What?
Ever been codependent,
Yes, sir.
Marv?
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah. You have an example?
Not right off the top of my head, but I can tell you this. My daughter has accused me of being codependent.
I thought you said your dog was codependent. But your daughter's accused you of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's pretty sharp, so.
She probably has examples.
I'm probably right there, yeah.
Yeah. Denver, how about you?
Dysfunctional helpful. You used that term when we first started.
Yeah, a type of dysfunctional helping relationship where one person supports or enables another person's inappropriate behavior.
Yeah, it's difficult. You want to help people. Mm-hmm. And I've been on the taking end of this. You know, I've taken advantage of people being where I come from. But yes, I believe all of us probably. You want to help somebody, and in the end, you're not really helping. You're enabling. You're allowing them to continue. So,
but you can really believe, especially if you don't know anything about this, you can really believe that you're being helpful, right?
Since
and
I
be very
do know
sincere about it.
It's difficult since I do know about it. But
Right.
You're right. Somebody that is not been aware of addiction will step into this and carry somebody for a long, long time. You know,
Yeah.
when you're not doing yourself any good, most certainly, and you're not helping the other person either.
Now, Marcia's my wife, so we want to ask her.
I love it.
Marcia, ever been codependent?
I have got stories.
Yeah, I bet.
Thanks. Time for me to leave.
Don't forget he's got the kill button over there. So.
Right.
All true.
All true? Yeah.
My stories are all true.
See? Oh, there it is.
Give us an example. Tell the story about the checkbook in the pocket.
Oh, yeah. We were just dating. We weren't, if you call it dating, we never really had a dating,
What would you call
experience. Well, he was in...
You can say it.
Okay. He was in Teen Challenge working, and so they really didn't allow any type of... Anyway.
Don't touch, don't look, don't talk.
He was... Yeah, really, don't hug, don't.
Don't.
He was... So we were still just getting to know each other. And he had come over, and I don't know if I had been gone and you were there, or if you were there. Anyway, he found my checkbooks. So he had to look. He had to be snooping and all that. But he finds my checkbooks, and he's acting a little weird. I know nothing about addiction. Never met a drunk person in my life. Probably couldn't tell you if a person was drunk or not. I had no idea, nothing. And so he is acting weird. I know that. He's not acting himself. And he gives me a hug. He walks out the door, and I notice he has my checkbook in his back pocket. And my mind's going, he has your checkbook. But the other part's going, no, he couldn't have my checkbook. Why would he be doing that? Why would he do that? And so I'm, my mind's going a mile a minute. He's trying to leave, get out as fast as he can. And it's like this voice said, take that checkbook out of his pocket. Don't let him leave with it. What are you doing? And I'm like, but I can't because, he's such a nice person and surely he's not going to do anything wrong with it. But why would he have it? And this is in a split second. Well, he leaves. And I'm still mulling it over. What is he doing? Why does he have it? Why did he find it? All these questions. And then about 3 weeks later, I find out what he had planned for my checkbook. What he had done is he's took several different pads of checks, and he wrote, well, no, I take this back. You had taken one pad of checks, but there was like 4 pads left. And what I found out is in each pad, he wrote the last check. So I didn't find out till quite a while later that there's these other checks missing.
From your other book.
That's still in my box.
I see.
So then I get this call from the bank, and of course he forged them. And when you forge checks, it's not, highly recommended.
Right.
So I had to go before the grand jury.
Oh my.
And it was a terrible mess because I was caught in this, I loved him, but I got to tell on him, and I have to be truthful because then I'm in trouble. And I wanted to drop it. I didn't want there to be a case. But at that point, it's a federal, well, I don't know, is it federal?
Well, the banks have it, the state has it. Yeah. So it's not, forgery is a felony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just drop it. I'm,
Her codependent self wanted to drop it. Yeah.
Because I knew what was coming. Here I am before the grand jury. And my dad was with me, and my pastor went with me to the grand jury. And I come out, and the district attorney,
Haljan,
yeah, he was so mean to me. It's like, you need to get rid of it. Well, actually, I had walked out of the grand jury room, and my dad and my pastor on both sides, and he yells down the hall, you need to get rid of this guy. He's a loser. And they both turned back to look. And I grabbed them by their arms and was trying to pull them, keep going, because they didn't know what I had just, experienced in there. And so anyway, it came down to I don't have the authority to drop the charges. I can't do that. It's now in their hands.
But your codependency wanted to drop it.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So codependency is a big deal. And Heather, I'm going to give you a chance to kind of share your story here. But really quickly, I want to go through 5 phrases manipulators say to make you feel crazy. Let's see if you can identify with any of these. Number 1, you're misunderstanding what I said. This is a common phrase uttered by manipulators when they're caught in the act of saying or doing something deceptive. But you misunderstood. I didn't say that. Number 2, you're acting crazy, irrational, illogical.
Right.
This phrase is a close cousin to the first. The purpose here, again, is to create a sense of doubt or confusion in you. Okay. Number 3, you're too sensitive.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're a logical human being. Nobody would respond kindly to being taken advantage of. But they'll say that. You're being too sensitive. Right. Here's number 4. I don't like drama. Yes, they do. In fact, serial manipulators thrive on it. They just do it in a different way. Generally speaking, manipulators don't express trauma in the physical sense. They don't shrug their shoulders, sigh heavily, or speak loudly. They prefer to go about their business by manipulating others in subtle, less obvious ways. And number 5, you're thinking too much.
Yeah, just stop thinking. Okay.
Yeah, just stop thinking. Yeah. Here's a change up. Maybe you are thinking too much. Maybe not. Even if you are, in this sense, it's a productive development. It's a positive because you're rationalizing refusing the psychological tricks that manipulators often use to get away with. So maybe you're thinking too much is a good thing.
Yeah.
So those are very 5 common ones. Does this sound familiar to you, Heather?
Absolutely, all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 8 signs that you might be codependent. Number 1, you think you can help your partner to change. Even though you have not been successful in getting your loved one to change in the past, you keep trying. Number 2, you say yes when you really mean no. And then feel resentful about it. Number 3, you have so much love to give, but your loved one seems to reject it. Giving until it hurts is your motto when you're in a codependent relationship. Number 4, their mood affects your mood. 5, you rarely do anything away from your loved one. So in many codependent relationships, you'll follow them around like a puppy to protect them, to fix them, to guard them against whatever. Number 6, you worry about them rejecting or leaving you. Yeah. They won't love me anymore. They'll think that I don't like them. Number 7, you fantasize about getting out. And number 8, your loved one's behavior is borderline or over the line abusive. Sometimes you're afraid of them. So those are just some signs right there. So Heather, all right. So
Yes.
you have a brother who has been in active addiction for some time.
Yes.
Also has experienced some amount of recovery.
Yeah.
Right.
13 years he was clean.
Clean for 13 years.
Yeah.
Was he actively in a recovery program, or did he attend meetings, or?
Well, he started out in an Oxford house in Salem.
Okay.
And he was there for about 3 years, and he became really high up there, like the president of the house.
Okay.
And then after about 3 years, he decided it was time to move on. And for about a year, I think, or so after that, he stayed in a group. But then after that, he didn't. He just stopped. But he was fine. I mean, I say that, but
Sure.
as far as everyone knew, to the point to where we all forgot. Because he before he got clean for the 13 years, he was out on the street in Eugene for about 10 years.
Wow.
It was the life he chose. I mean, obviously, I guess not in that way, but
Right.
he didn't want to. He didn't want to do the things he needed to do to get clean at that point.
Right.
So we hardly would talk to him over that time. Maybe once a year he'd call. We had no way to get a hold of him.
Because he separated himself.
Exactly.
Right? Not because you
right.
rejected him, right?
No, absolutely not. And then he showed up at my sister's house one day, and she took him in, and the deal was no drugs. And he made the decision to use drugs, and actually it was really scary. My 2 nieces, who were 6 and 4 at the time, are the ones that found his drugs in the room he was in at my sister's. And thank God they had it was God,
Yeah.
because they came out and told my sister, "What's this white stuff in Uncle Mike's room?" And so she went right in there because she's a recovered addict as
Right.
well, and she knew obviously what he'd been up to, and sure enough, she found meth in there. And so that's how he got to the Oxford house, because she said to him, "Mike, you can't stay here. Your options are, I can take you to an Oxford house," because she had called ahead of time, I guess, before he got home, and said, "Those are your options. You just leave, or I'll take you to get help. I've got you a place at, Oxford." And he agreed to go. And that started his road recovery.
Right.
And then 13 years later, he relapsed in a big way.
Yeah. And he stayed in it.
And he stayed in it for just about a year before he got arrested for selling.
This last time?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So what's happening, fast forward now. Well, let's go back for a minute. So before he gets arrested, however, you and he had a relationship that you now know was very codependent.
Very.
And you had an opportunity to kind of scratch the surface of codependent recovery with Marcia, right? What did you learn about yourself as it relates to your brother and your own codependency?
I learned a lot. Well, to start with, that I can't control it. Control him.
Right.
Control. And that word, it was really hard for me to wrap my mind around when I first started the recovery. To think that I'm not controlling. I'm not a controlling person. I don't want to control him. I don't want, I couldn't accept that. But the bottom line is it comes from a place of love and caring, but it definitely is. I wanted to manage him. I wanted to be his director and say, this is what you're going to do. These are the things you need to do. And then he, of course, wouldn't do them. And so it was just this vicious cycle. And for the first probably, and plus, you got to remember, it was 13 years. And so in my mind, I was stunned. I was in denial for the first few months. I didn't believe what people were telling me. My sister would say, Heather, how could you not see that he's using again? Oh, it's just alcohol. He's drinking too much. We need to talk to him about that. I don't think he's using meth. There's no way he would do that again. He ruined his life. Why would he ever? I mean, because at this point, these 13 years, he's built a life. He has his own home. He has a job that he's had the same job for 10 years. You get so used to the new, it was just really difficult. So anyway, maybe I'm making excuses for my behavior, but so yeah, it was a lot of that. For the first several months, I gave him money. I paid his bills. And then of course, when I finally accepted, okay, I'm just fueling his addiction. I cannot do that anymore. So then I stopped that.
Did he get angry with you?
Absolutely.
You betcha.
He did. How could you do this? I have no electricity. How am I going to get my...
Because you're getting in the way of his ability to use.
Right.
And that's his lifeline.
Right.
And that's not a moral judgment on him.
Right.
That's just part of the addiction. Right. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, and then that I stopped giving him money, but I still was very codependent because I would every week on a Sunday usually I'd bring him care packages. So I wouldn't give him money, but I'd have a big bag full of food, his favorite things, cigarettes.
Oh, so you brought him drugs.
we like care packages.
And to me, that was okay because I wasn't giving him money. But meanwhile, I'm in turmoil because I know the person that he is. And again, the director in me, the person that's like, okay, let's get your life back on track. I can help you. So very emotionally involved, very traumatic for not just me, our whole family.
Okay, so now let's fast forward to he was arrested.
Yes.
Right? And he has spent how long?
He's been in for by the time he gets out, right now he's been there a year and 4 months. It'll be a year 5 months, about a year and a half.
Right. He's getting ready to get out.
Yes.
And you have moved to Brownsville.
Yes.
And on your property, you have a separate building?
It's a garage, a detached garage.
Right.
And above it's a small apartment.
Mm-hmm. And you have decided to let him move into that part of your property.
Yes.
Okay. So, what are you thinking? What is your thinking around this?
Well,
how have you come to this decision? And I'm going to put you on the spot.
I know
Are you
it.
sure about? Are you sure about this?
Well, what I am sure about is that maybe it is a codependent thing, but there's this part of me that wants to, because I know that...
Well, he's your brother, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and because I know, because we've seen him do it, we know that he can, if he just has an opportunity, then he can get back on track.
Why, and I don't say this in any judgment at all, it's just a question.
Right.
Why are you the person to give him the opportunity?
That's a good question. I guess I feel probably that same part of me feels like there isn't anyone else, maybe. I don't know. My sister, but then both our parents have passed away, grandparents passed away. So it's just the few of us left. And I think there's this strong sense of family keeping
Family
us...
takes care of family.
Right. And I feel like if it was my niece or if it was my sister, I would give them that chance.
Or if it was you,
I would
you'd want a chance,
that
right?
chance.
Right.
But on the same token, don't think that there's not fear or anxiety and a lot of prayer. Basically, just saying to God, whatever your will is, here, of course, here's what I would like to happen,
Sure.
the great Heather, movie, this is how it's going to go. But I know that it's not up to me. It's up to my brother, and it's, I say up to God, but I know that we all have we make our own decisions.
Yeah.
But what I pray for is just strength to know the signs, to know that if he starts using again, and also to have the strength to be able to say, of course I've told him, but in the moment,
Right.
To pray for the strength to be able to say to him, no, I told you you can't do that here. Because not only would it be risking him, I feel since it's in my home, on my property, I'd be at risk. And I've met with his parole officer several times, and he's even said, and I've told him, I'll have no choice, because he asked me the question too,
Right.
basically, what are you going to do if that happens? And I said, I'll have no choice. It'll be hard, but I would have to call and say,
He's violated his probation.
And then he, in turn, the parole officer said to me, and that's what you need to do because you can't wait. He said, if you wait and they get deeper into it, it's a lot harder to get them back,
Right.
on track if we could get to it right away. And he said it may be that he wouldn't get jail time the first time, that they may work with him and put him on a work crew or...
There may be other consequences that aren't so drastic.
Right, if you get it right away.
So I made a statement, and Marv responded to this statement here a few weeks ago, and he went, ain't that the truth? And what I said was, it was the show we did on responding to your addicted loved ones. And I said, don't make the mistake of looking at a short period of good behavior as being everything's okay.
Right.
You remember that? And you said, that's right, because people make that, they'll say, well, they've been clean for 12 months. Everything's fine now. Well, and also don't make the mistake that you can't use in prison, because you can. So if he's staying clean while he's been in there, good for him.
He says so.
Congratulations.
I hope
he has. Because you can't, it's not hard to get it. It really isn't. And if you're an addict and if you're active, you'll step over your mother's grave to get it. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that the illness has come to a place where you're desperate. So if he's stayed clean during this time, that's a good deal. There's something to be said about longevity. But please don't misunderstand a year of being a good boy as actually being in recovery. Because recovery isn't about just abstinence. If it was, if we just took the drugs or the alcohol away, that's all that would have to be done. But there's a reason why we use. Right. And if a person isn't working on that, if they're not in some kind of recovery program with accountability and a sponsor and working some sort of program to where they are enlarging on their spiritual condition, they're accountable, then their chances of relapse are very strong. Very, very strong. So my question to you, I guess, and then I'm going to open this up for you guys, are you ready to actually say the first time you're out of here?
Right. I pray so. I think about that every day. Because
legally, if there's illegal substances on your property, you're liable.
I know. And that's terrifying to me.
Now, alcohol isn't illegal.
Well, he can't have it, though. I guess he's not allowed to.
But because he's on probation or parole, he can't have any substances. Mm-hmm. Just because marijuana is now legalized in this state for recreational purposes doesn't make it legal for him to use it.
Well, and I think that would be the easiest thing to do, is to say, well, it's marijuana, it's legal. Because I have another friend who, her husband just relapsed.
And that was his...
Yeah. And I said, well, you need to set some boundaries and not even accept, even if it is marijuana. And she goes, but his comeback is, but it's legal, so it's okay for me to use it. I said, but is it okay in your eyes for him? It's a drug. So is it okay in your eyes? And she
with your
says,
kids
well,
on
no.
your property, on
right.
your right.
Mm-hmm. And she says, but I don't know how to. It'd be hard for me to say you're out of here because it's marijuana and it is legal. I said, well, what if he was an alcoholic? You know, you can go buy beer anywhere.
Right.
Would that be, you know, and so that, as an addict and a codependent, that's a real struggle.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Marv, any comment? Denver, any comment?
Well, it struck me, and I'm not trying to be real pious.
Sure.
I think it's true, but everything you read prior to starting to talk, the wines, everything has to do, in my opinion, with people who are leaving God out. They're running their lives based on their emotions, the human mentality we have in our world today is, you know, if it feels good, you know, I'm okay, you're okay. And,
sure.
And all that's all human stuff.
Yeah.
That's not what God says.
Right.
And I know I look back on some of the things I've gotten into, even with my brother and my wife, and I realize at some point in time that what I was doing is telling God, really, what I was telling him. I was saying, you know what, I got this. Mm-hmm. This is my deal. I'll handle it. And I screwed it up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we think we're helping, yeah.
And I can see so I guess that's a comment.
Yeah.
It really struck me how all through this whole program so far, not that we're but the things that are brought up
right,
are leaving God out.
You bet they are. It's all about me. Selfish, self-centered, self-seeking. And really an element of codependency is very selfish and prideful. You know, I can fix you. I can fix you. I'm nothing wrong with me. You're the problem. You're the horse's patootie, not me. Yep. You know, and unfortunately, addiction is a family illness. It affects everyone.
And God spoke to me very clearly that in one incident was, you can't be his savior. I'm his savior. And it's like, step aside or else. And so that's when I stepped aside, you know?
Right.
That's pretty clear, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, if you don't get out of my way, you could kill him.
Mm-hmm. I would be responsible is actually the word
Right.
that I heard, was you'll be responsible.
What do you think about all this, Denver?
I think it's one of those shows I enjoy listening to.
See how he just wiggled out of that?
No, it's wonderful. Marv, thank you. That was good input. And it's a sticky situation. Addiction sucks. From any angle you come at, addiction sucks. So, past that, like I said, I'm listening right now, and I don't have a lot of input from the codependent side because I've been a taker. You know, I haven't been a large giver in my life. So it's unfortunate. I do know that I have put family members of mine and friends through some trying times because of me taking advantage of them, knowing how to play. We're players, us people with addictions. We will take that checkbook and take the last check out. That was...
You bet.
Yeah, that's the way that works. Is we've thought that through, and we're going to, as deviously as we can, pull our scheme off. So, yeah, it's horrible things that we addicts will do, and it's horrible that we put people through what they have to go through. It's wonderful when I hope you stand your ground.
Thank you.
That's
I hope so too.
Yeah. Boundaries are really important. We've talked a lot about boundaries here, and it's easy to set them, and it's difficult in the moment to stand up for them. So,
especially if your addicted loved one is in your face doing the manipulation thing and trying to confuse you.
Well, and one of the words they like to use is, you don't trust me, you don't believe in me.
Yeah.
You know, and that throws the codependent in because of course, I mean, that's what we want to do, is to be able to trust you. So when you're telling me I'm not, then that kind of blows our mind because...
You feel like you're betraying your loved one.
Right.
Right? And you're really not.
No.
You're actually on their side. They don't see that.
Of course.
But they're asleep. Their logical, common sense, and all that is asleep, and their addict is raging. And your addict can be alive and well even if you're not using. Because the obsession, the addictive obsession, happens when we're stone cold sober, not when we're using. The phenomenon of craving, where you can't control how much you use, happens once you use. That happens once you use, but it's what your thinking is like when you're stone cold sober. This time I can drink like a gentleman. This time I'll just take $40 out of the ATM and get a small bag of dope.
One glass instead of one bottle.
I'll just have one glass. This time I'm not going to contact my old using buddies. I'm going to use by myself over at the park. You know, all this thinking like I'm going to manage it. That's obsessive thinking. And until that obsession is removed, and we know here in this room, there's only one that can do that, and that's God. And that brings into what Marv was saying. If God's not in this picture, it's going to be a rough ride.
And that's scary for me. I've been telling Marcia that since forever.
Yeah.
That's absolutely... If the prayer I have daily is that he would find God, accept God into his life. Because I know for 100% fact that's the only way that he has a chance.
Sure. If he's an addict or an alcoholic like I am, like Denver is, like Marv is, you're going to have God in our life. Now, there are some people that are abusers and aren't addicts. They don't have the allergic reaction. They don't have the phenomenon of craving. They don't have the obsession. It isn't all they think about, that kind of thing. But most of the time, people that constantly relapse and all that kind of thing, they're probably not just abusers.
Right.
You know,
one thing that helped for me as far as sticking to the boundaries is to realize that I'm not dealing with Monty. I'm dealing with the addict at that time.
Right.
And so if you can separate the person you know and the addict and realize that you're dealing with the addict, and so I have to stick to my boundaries because they're not the person you know when they're in their addictive behavior.
Yeah, you're not actually, but you weren't actually betraying me, but you were getting in the face of the addict. When you made that videotape, and said, because she had to make a video because she couldn't do it in front of me, so she did the next best thing, and she made a videotape.
Well, you weren't around for one thing,
right? And so I sat down and watched it, and that was, she was on fire, and I needed to hear that. So
because in front of you, I couldn't be that pissed off.
Right.
Because it was in the moment, because what was happening at the time, I had so much anger that if I wouldn't have done it then I would have soft pedaled it, and I would have cushioned it because I didn't want to hurt him, don't want to hurt the addict and make him feel bad about himself. So
if you look at your own codependency as being something that's actually harming them.
Right.
So then you really go, I really am betraying them when I say, oh, next time. Or, okay, you're right. And you're on their side, whether they know it or not. You're on their side when you don't let them get away with it. And, here's the deal. If I get away with something, I don't know about you guys, but if I get away with it, I'll do it again.
Amen.
I'm going to do it again. That's just the sin nature of humans. You don't have to be an addict or an alcoholic.
No.
If I can eat a couple of Snickers bars and my sugar level not go off the roof, I'm probably going to eat a couple more Snickers bars. As a diabetic, that's not good. Right. So, and so you have to look at it as this is an illness. And if my loved one had cancer, I wouldn't sneak him out of the hospital to go home and not have his treatment. Right.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is hard stuff. So when I ask you the question, are you ready to hold him accountable? Mm-hmm. That is huge.
That is huge. And again, it's something I think about daily, especially the closer that it gets to him being released.
Right.
Well, and you really won't know until that moment.
You won't.
But you are, I think, doing the right steps. You're praying. You're asking God for his help. You already in your mind know that you can call the parole officer.
Right.
I mean, you've set up steps to take.
Right.
Now, in that moment, all those steps might go out the window. You won't know until that time. But
what I found interesting, too, was the house that I ended up getting is directly across the street from the parole office. So I thought that was
convenient.
Yeah, very convenient.
So, one of the places that when I was living in Texas, one of the places I used the most.
Oh, no.
Right behind the cop shop.
For real.
Because no one's going to suspect that. Park my car back there, do it hit a dope. Cops go by.
Monty.
Whoa.
We're clever.
Yeah.
no, well,
We're
if
we're
you call
addicts.
it clever, I call it.
We're addicts.
We think we're clever.
Yeah.
So here's the other piece. What is Heather doing for Heather when it comes to her own recovery? Because remember, codependency, the drug is Mike. Your drug
so weird.
is Mike.
Like, I don't want that drug.
I know. But codependence drugs is the other person. And so what are you doing, just going to, and we played a PSA for Al-anon. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying all Al-anon meetings are healthy. I'm not saying all AA meetings are healthy. I'm not saying every church you go to is healthy. But you've got to find a support system that you're plugged into, especially if they're living on your property.
Yeah.
That you're plugged into on a regular basis. Whether that's once a month, once a week, but whatever it is that it's consistent. So you have somebody that knows and has been there that you can be accountable to, just like Mike needs a sponsor to be accountable to.
Right.
And we don't like thinking of that. Well, I'm not the sick person. Yeah, you are.
Yep.
So what are you doing for you? What's your plan to take care of Heather?
Well, I've been thinking about that too. I used to meet with Marcia once a week.
Right.
And my plan in my mind was to start going to a group, but then that never happened. I didn't start doing that. Because again, I think that part of me, to be honest, okay, I'm okay now. I can pick up now, and I've got the tools. I don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just talking to a good friend of mine a couple weeks ago about going to be on the show.
Yeah.
And got to talking about how Marcia and I used to meet, and she says, well, why don't you do that anymore? Don't you think, I mean, just from talking with me, she asked the same kind of question.
Yeah.
And it really has been making me think that, especially like you said, since he's going to be getting out, I can definitely see I could relapse back into those
Sure,
same
because your
behaviors.
drug is now within arm's reach.
Right. Oh, gosh, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So for you, it's kind of like the alcoholic keeping a beer in the refrigerator and saying, I'm going to put that in there to remind me not to drink it.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work out.
Yeah, so you got your beer in your refrigerator.
Yeah.
Or in a few days.
In a few days, yeah, soon.
So you're at high risk to relapse.
Definitely.
Right? So you need some protective boundaries around you. Some people that love you enough, care enough about you to call you on your crap.
Right.
Right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
Even if they're wrong, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you really need to consider that really highly.
Definitely. I agree. And what's also is interesting is that where I work, right across the street, there's a group that meets.
There you go.
Every Tuesday. Yeah.
Right.
So what's my excuse now? I don't know.
Yeah. So if you're going to go into battle, right? When police officers, one of the shows that Marcia and I like to watch is called Blue Bloods. Oh. And whenever they go into where there's going to be, guns going off, they got their bulletproof vests on, right? Are you walking into battle without your bulletproof vest? Because if you are, you're going to get taken out.
Right.
And then that's not going to help him.
I agree.
Yeah. So and there's people listening to this show right now that are going, boy.
My vest is dusty.
My vest is dusty. So I want to thank you for being willing to come on and talk about this stuff. Yeah. And we'll be checking in with you.
Okay, yeah, I hope so. I've got Marcia every day.
It's true.
It's true.
Listen, coming up on March 13th at Celebrate Recovery, and that, by the way, that's a really good place to go to, too, because there's codependents and addicts and alcoholics and people that are eating things.
One big happy family.
I was going to say, put them all in one room together.
It's great. Tuesday, March 13th at 7 p.m. Dinner starts at 6, and it's free. At 7 p.m. is nationally known recovery recording artist Heather Lane is going to be at Hope Church here in Albany, Oregon. You don't want to miss that if you're in the area. And next week on this show, the director of Oregon Recovers, Mike Marshall, will be here to talk about the nonprofit organization Oregon Recovers and what that's all about.
Excellent.
So we have kind of a humorous codependent song to close with. I want you to listen to.
This will be fun.
This is Scott Kallichstein. He's been on the show before years ago. You can visit his website at scottsongs.com. This is called Just a Codependent Love Song.
Oh, my.
So check this out.
Music has the power to really touch people, reach people, uplift people, instruct, educate, heal. And popular music, especially love songs, do not do it. The songs that you listen to on the radio, most of them are really about codependency and fear and holding on. And, once you have found her, never let her go. Let's be serious about that. If you really used that as your philosophy, you'd end up having a lot of restraining orders on you. What we consider romance is not very healthy. You made me love you. I didn't want to do it. I can't smile without you. Get a life. So this is my little antidote. Sometimes I call it number 15 codependency block, because if you sing this little ditty, your mind will be protected, shielded from the negative effects of the lyrics of today's codependent songs, and then you can enjoy them and not be freaked out by them. So please join me in learning this, and we can sing it together and then go through some of our favorite oldies. Just a codependent love song, one that's filled with pain and misery. Just a codependent love song, glorifying insecurity. Okay, let's sing that together. Just a codependent love song, one that's filled with pain and misery. Just a codependent love song, glorifying insecurity. I know I'll never love this way again, so I keep holding on till the good is gone. Just a codependent love song, one that's filled with pain and misery. Just a codependent love song, glorifying insecurity. The 1950s was a time where the United States government was experimenting with subliminal technology, just seeing how it might affect the masses of people like you and me. They put some of these messages, these subliminal messages, underneath some of the 50 songs that we were listening to. And if you listen to your old 45s really carefully, you might be able to find some of these hidden subliminal messages. Listen very closely right now and try to find the hidden message of blame and being a victim underneath the following. You don't remember me, but I remember you. It was not so long ago. You broke my heart in two. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart caused by you. Did anybody find it? A lot of psychics in Detroit. Just a codependent love song, one that's filled with pain and misery. Just a codependent love song, glorifying insecurity. Well, we can go on all night, as you know, but we're going to close this melody with a song that Barry Manilow won his 12th Codependent Grammy of the Year. Smile without you. I can't smile without you. I can't laugh and I can't sing. I'm finding it hard to do anything. You see, I feel sad when you're sad. Feel glad when you're glad. If you knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile. Just a codependent love song, one that's filled with pain and misery. Just a codependent love song, glorifying insecurity.
That's Scott Kallichstein. You can visit his website, learn more about him, and hear more of his songs at scottsongs.com. SCOTTSONGS.com. Special thanks to our special guest, Heather, today for sharing her story of experience, strength, and hope. And for the rest of the team, thank you guys so much. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man, and we're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
Good guys, bad boys, we're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Cause she's a super cat, she's super kitty, meow.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Meow.